first starting, maybe some of you would be thinking that designing RPA performance matrix or analyzing the cost and complexity is more of a role of a BA or a manager or a RPA lead. But that's not the case. I don't feel like that. So to all the developers or the solution architect who joined this session, I think you also play a major role in it, and you can even play a major role in it because when it comes to, analyzing and designing the performance metrics, a developer or a solution architect could have their say when we decide that, because you are probably more aware of how complex could a process go, or when dealing with certain applications, which applications could increase the complexity because you would have previously worked or used those applications. So you can even play a role in it, and you must be aware of all the phases of an RPA, and you should know in and out about the solution or the process you've been automating. So without further ado, let's get started with the session. So the first slide we'll be discussing on with the approach, that what approach we should take while we design or we analyze the RPA performance metrics. So before we kick off our RPA journey, the first phase we deal in whenever we pick up a process for automating it is the preparation, in which the BA or the lead or the manager, it totally depends who plays what role. It totally depends on how your RPA setup is being done, or how does your team operate, or what role has been given in your organization, and accordingly you operate. So in the preparation phase, what is being done is that one of the most important activities being carried out, that is the assessment, opportunity assessment, you can say. So in that phase, the automation suitability is being determined of each individual process if there are multiple parts of the process. And accordingly, you identify and prioritize the process, that which process you're going to automate first and then which you will automate the second. And that prioritizing also depends on various factors, depends on whether you want to, reduce the error rates, or whether you want to incur a high ROI, or whether you want to first pick up the complex processes and then go for a little less complex process so that the code or the components could be reused. So this is what we aim at initially when we start off. And the steps are that the first one, we devise a strategy to prioritize the process. And to be able to do that, one must understand the factor that dictate complexity level. And when we talk about complexity level, that how do we decide that? So we'll look into that later in the session. As for now, we'll see what all approach could be taken. So then we have this understand and lay out complexity factors. Then you understand the process and you decide on that what all things, what all factors can play a major role, and accordingly you give the weightage. Suppose there are a number of factors, and then you decide on the percentage or the weightage that each factor would take in with it. You cannot give equal weightage to all of it. You can give, but that totally depends on the process, that accordingly you start off with, okay, that the number of steps or the number of validations in the process would take a greater weightage than the number of applications involved. So accordingly, when you see the process, you start analyzing it, you decide and you lay out that whole thing, that what all factors will be taken into consideration, and what would be the weightage for each of the factors. Then you calculate the complexity level, whether it's low, whether it's medium, whether it's high, or it's very high, or whether consultation from experts are required. So accordingly, complexity level is decided. Then we calculate the automation potential, that to what extent are we going to automate a process, or if there's a big process and there are multiple like 10, 20 sub processes in it, then how many of the sub processes you pick in one go and automate it. And after that, if you have automated 4 sub processes out of 20 present, then how you bridge the gap between those, how lay out the connectors so that the input from one could act the output from one could act as an input to another. And that's what the vision is, that you see the large picture and you accordingly automate and pick up the process and you prioritize it. Suppose if a process requires input from another process, so you would first target to automate the previous process whose output acts as an input to another, rather than just jumping onto another of whose input you are not aware that from where will you get it. Or if you do not automate that and that previous process whose output is acting as the input to the process you've been automating is still being done by humans and the error rate is high, then your process would also be get affected. So accordingly, you decide in, and for that, you need to have a bigger picture. You have to analyze all the processes, all the applications involved in the solution. Then you map in the business benefits, that what does actually the business want. You have to map your analyzing thing and everything you've analyzed and everything you've noted down. You have to map it with what the business requires. If the business want that the error is costing us a lot and we cannot afford any error, so accordingly, then you see that what all could be done so that you have the error rates to be reduced to as minimum as possible, or zero error rates, or like very minute errors. If it's that they want to incur a high ROI or they want to incur a large amount of profit from that process, so then accordingly you take that step after analyzing the process, that what all things you can change, how you can mold the solution so that the ROI is as maximum as possible, and you can, increase the ROI and increase the profit the business wants to incur from this solution. Then you map the processes into quadrants. Now, if I talk about these quadrants, that also, varies according to the setup you have in your team. It could be like you divide 4 quadrants and you map the process according to the complexity, that okay, this process is high complexity, this is low, this is medium, or you divide it on the basis of stability, that though the benefit is low but it's highly stable, or if it's very complex but it is highly stable when it is into production, and accordingly you map it into the quadrants. And then you prioritize the process, like you make an automation pipeline, that okay, first I'm going to pick this XYZ process, I'm going to automate it, I'm going to bridge it up so that they act as a sole solution. Then you pick up another process, another subset of process from that whole big pipeline, and you automate that, so that at the end you align the goal of your automation with the goal of the organization. So you'll have to think a little at a bigger perspective. At the end, you'll have to achieve what your team or your organization want to achieve from this automation thing. If they want to incur a certain amount of ROI, and accordingly you pick up those processes which will help you at the end of the year to meet that goal or to reach to that goal, so that it's fulfilled. So accordingly you prioritize it. So this is the approach how we take in when we go on to designing or analyzing the performance metrics, which will eventually help us in calculating the ROI. So we've seen the approach. Now talking about the complexity factors, on what all factors it depends, and how do you map it to the business benefits, or how do you prioritize the process. So let's move on to see all of those. But before moving on, I would like to ask a question. And there'll be a link on the chat. You can just navigate to that link, and you'll have to tell me that what all other factors one should consider while selecting the process for RP implementation. What do you think? What all should a RP developer or a RPA BA consider while they are selecting the process for RP implementation? There's a link in the chat window. You just have to click on it, and you'll reach to a page wherein you can just put your answers. So let's wait for 30 seconds till you people answer.
Guys, you need to answer in the link, not in the chat. Just click to that link. You immediately will jump into the question and the answers you need to write.
Okay. Number of steps, stability, FTE. Any factors you think that can affect the complexity or that should be considered while the cost is being calculated? Manual hours saved, manual interventions. Let's wait for 30 more seconds. Degree of stability. Okay, we are still getting submissions. Okay, so yeah, we have got enough answers. So yes, these all are the factors. Some more factors could also be added depending on how you have a look onto the process and how you, what all factors you consider while automating it. So if I talk about the framework to select right process for RPA implementation. So all what you consider while implementing a process into RPA, you just can't pick up any process and start implementing it. It's not how the RPA thing works. It's not that the client has given you a project and you just at once put two, three developers onto it and ask them to start developing. There are a lot many things which you should consider while starting off with the implementation before starting off with the implementation. So as we've seen that a lot of you have answered the stability, the application involved, the number of steps, the FT, manual hours saved, manual intervention is there or not. So yes, all that should be considered before you pick up any process and start implementing. So the first one, what all key points we should consider in is the first one is we define an overall strategy and adoption mechanism. So that is we prioritize the process and come up with a roadmap or a strategy to roll the things out as we have seen previously while discussing the approach. Selection of right process for automation. So what all process you should consider for automating and what all you shouldn't consider. So there are some process which are, you can say, unsuitable for RPA implementation because of n number of reasons, like if the environment or application involved are prone to frequent changes, they're very volatile, they keep changing every other day, then the effort you put in is more than the person doing it because it's all based on selectors and all. So if your environment is very volatile, it keeps changing every other day, then it's very hard for a bot to run on it. If there are many, a lot of manual actions involved, so it could then fall into maybe semi-automated process, but it cannot be fully automated because a lot of manual action is involved. Like suppose you usually log into a web portal, you just put in the ID password and you are in the web portal and you can automate it. But what if you cannot just log into a web portal, or there is some human authorization involved who gives you the access, then it's impossible for an RPA to work in that thing. So all these things you should consider while you pick up any process and you say, okay, this is fit for automation, I'm going to make a bot of it. So it shouldn't be. So process in which non-digital and physical equipment is often used, that is not considered for RPA. If authorization is given by a human being, then if a process involves a high level of skill and expertise, for example, software development, so that cannot be done by a bot because it requires a high level of skills and expertise. You cannot make an AI model out of it and you can train and that bot could then do the software development because there is a high set of skills required for that. So process like that, they cannot be automated. So some process, if the process is rule based, then you can easily automate it. You set in the rules and the automation could be done. Now though this rule based thing is no more in picture, even if intelligence is involved, you can still automate it because now we have AI fabric, we can train the model. And if it's not even rule based, if intelligence is involved, then also that can be automated. Data archiving, data manipulation, all these things which involves a lot of repetitive tasks, those can be automated. So they are the best fit for RPA. If a lot of data download is there from a browser or something, that can be automated because that's going to save a lot of time. Report aggregation, monitoring, insights and analytics. If you can play around all the structured data, you like document understanding, processing of invoice and receipts. So all these things are a good fit for RPA if you have anything such in the process. And obviously you can pick up considering all other factors as well. Then if even if it's a unstructured data or if it's a scanned PDF, then also you can do it. We have OCR, we have document understanding thing. And with that, if unstructured data is also there, you can, train your model and get the data processed. The scanned PDF are also being taken care of. electronic triggers wherein the bot should start processing when you receive in a mail. So those are electronic trigger that you wait for some trigger to start the process. So that can also be automated. So you have a certain criteria and you analyze everything, and then you decide on whether this process is the right fit for automating or not. Then coming on to identifying the right RPA tool. So based upon the requirement of the process, you'll have to select the tool. If your tool involves machine learning, or it involves artificial intelligence, or there is unstructured data and all, then you would want to pick up a tool which provides you all of that. You will not pick up any XYZ tool that does not provide you this AI capabilities and all. Then because we have UiPath with AI Fabric, so then maybe you would want to go with that because it's much more easy if you use that. Or if a tool offers AI capabilities, but training the model and integrating it with all those becomes very difficult, and there is a tool which offers the ease as well, then also you would want to go with that tool. So depending on the process, what your process requires, you identify the right RPA tool, and then you pick up that RPA tool. Then expected outcome from RPA. So what do you expect when that bot is built and it's deployed in production? You want the reduced error rates because the error is costing you a lot. There is a big amount of money involved for every error that is being done in the process. Or you just want the process to be very fast, to be very efficient. So you decide on that, what is the expected outcome, which outcome has the most weightage, and accordingly you decide on that what all process you should be following, how you should build, what should be the architecture, which tool you should be picking up so that the exception handling and all is very good. It offers a structured exception handling thing and the retry mechanism so that you have the reduced error rate, and accordingly the outcome so that the architecture and all is good. Then the automation pipeline. So organizations, what they do, they implement RPA, they get the results, they are very happy with the results that, okay, the bot is performing it very efficiently, it is performing at a faster rate, and now the humans or the employees which were put into that repetitive task are no longer, they have to do that repetitive task, and they can, invest themselves in more complex tasks, increasing the productivity of the organization. But what they fail to do is they fail to have a vision. They are not able to see a bigger picture, so that they pick up all the process of a particular sector, or you can say department. They analyze it that, okay, if we pick up these four process and we bridge it, then this whole department, all the task of this department, the repetitive task or the rule based task has been automated. Now this department doesn't have to do any paperwork or doesn't have to keep doing all that repetitive task. So that vision is somewhere lost. So when you just start off with the process, you should have that vision. You should get to know that what all applications are involved, what role do they play in the automation, and this application is used in which all other process, and how can we later bring that process also into our automation scope and automate it, so that if that application is being used by 5 sub processes of a department, you can automate all of them. Feasibility analysis. So if I just talk in layman language, what do we mean by feasible? So it's the ease, how easily you do things, or the like how easy you do it. Or so what is feasibility analysis? If it comes to RPA, that what's the role of doing this feasibility analysis in RPA? So as we know that applications are involved, be it Windows, be it web, or even Citrix. So if any changes come up during the after once it's deployed to production, if there is any change in any of the application that is involved in the process, then how easily you'll be able to implement that change, or you adjust your solution to that change, so that the bot in production which is now running doesn't affect the schedule on which it is running, or if it affects, so it affects in the minimum way possible. That if there is any change, or if a new button or something is added onto the UI of the application you are being automating, then how quickly you can come up to that change, how quickly can you fix it? So that's what feasibility analysis is. Coming to complexity assessment. So to assess the complexity level of the process based on which the schedule or the timeline would then be decided. And on what all factors do you assess this complexity? What all do you consider while assessing the complexity? So this is where the developers and the solution architect who actually have to develop it can have their say that, okay, we have already used this application in this process, and it was very difficult to automate because everything was dynamic, or the site was very slow, it wasn't responding well. So they can that time have their say, because the BA or the manager or the lead who would be doing the complexity assessment would just be aware of the steps that is written, and based on that they'll be taking a decision that, okay, this particular process falls in a low complexity. But actually you would know that if it's really low, or it's of medium complexity, or if it's of high complexity. So here you can have your say that, okay, no, it's not that easy, we'll have to, make two processes and bind it to the same robot, it's complex, it shouldn't be considered in low. So that's how you can take a part in this, and for that you should be aware of all the factors that are being taken, that have to be taken into consideration while assessing the complexity of the process. Then ROI analysis. So when you assess the complexity, it eventually has direct effect on the ROI analysis, because based on your complexity, the cost is decided, and based on the cost, you calculate the ROI. So talking about the ROI analysis, if I talk on a broader scale, what is ROI? So it's basically made up of two things, that is before and after. So if it's what is before, that how much was the person being paid annually or monthly, that is their salary to do that particular job which now you have automated. So that is the before part, that earlier to the automation, earlier to the bot coming in picture doing this process, how much was the person being paid who used to do this job daily, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, manually. And after is that after you have automated the solution and now the bot is doing the job, so how much did you put in to automate that whole solution? That is the tool cost and the maintenance cost. So, and then at the end, if you do that before minus after, you get your ROI, that is return on investment. That you have invested $10,000 maybe, and after the bot is being deployed in production, you are getting $15,000. So that's 15 minus 10, simple maths. That's your ROI, that you invested this much, but you're getting, your saving is this much. And annually now you have to pay this much. And earlier you were paying this much to that employee. So that's your ROI. So these are some of the factors which we consider while doing the ROI analysis. So not only these 6 factors are considered, these are just the broader um, terms or points, key consideration points we take in while we analyze the ROI. You can consider any point or any other point or thing while you consider ROI. It totally depends on your RPS setup or on your organization, that what all point do they consider while analyzing the ROI. So if I talk about RPA solution cost, so as we discussed earlier, it's the tool cost you've been putting in, like the licenses and all, and the annual maintenance cost you put in to that solution which is being deployed. Then the customer satisfaction and improved brand. How satisfied your customer is when the bot is in production, that yeah, they're really satisfied that now they're getting no errors and they're saving a lot, because earlier as humans are more prone to errors than machine or than a software robot doing it. So now they're very satisfied because there are less error rates, and it's being done at a faster speed, because obviously the bot is doing it, and Likewise, an improved brand is that suppose if you get a project from a client and you developed it and deployed it in 6 weeks. Now you get a similar process, somewhat similar, like the applications which are being involved is the same and there are few logic changes. Now if you again say to the customer that I'll be taking 6 weeks again to develop it, so that's okay, maybe they'll agree to it. But what improved brand is that now you say that no, now I'm going to take 4 weeks because you know that you have developed similar things already in the previous process. So you can, reuse that thing, you can reuse the activities or the components which you have already used. So that is how you improve your brand, that we have this thing of, reusing the things and custom activities in place. And now we're going to take a little less time because this process is similar to the earlier one which you gave us. So that is how you do that thing, improve brand. Then coming to save manual hours. So as we know that if the bot is doing it, be it attended, be it unattended, then your manual hours are getting saved. Because even if it's attended automation, you'll just have to click on it and the bot would do the work. And if it's unattended, then you don't have to worry about it. It's scheduled to a certain time, and on that time, the bot would do the processing. So the manual hours is getting saved, and you can utilize that thing to increase the productivity of the organization or to do some other task. Then regulatory compliance and data governance. So regulatory compliance is that every process is abide to some rules and regulations that they follow while processing it. So when the board is working in its place, then we should be making sure that the board also, abide to those rules and regulations or laws to which that process is. So that is the regulatory compliance, that you shouldn't be violating any of the rules. And then data governance is that if there are two or multiple applications involved and there is a transfer of data between those applications, then it should be taken care of that the transfer is safe or the data is not getting leaked from anywhere. It's not getting leaked outside the organization or to any application it is not intended to. It's like if the process is GXP relevant. So GXP is the abbreviation of good practices, where X could stand for anything. It could be food, it could be medicine, it could be any industry. So there are certain set of good practices which are being followed in all the domains and in all the industries. So if now the bot is taking place of the human, then that bot should also abide to that good practices. So depending on the organization and on your team, there are a set of extra documentation being done for the GXP relevant process, which states that the bot which is now being would take care of the process, would follow all those good practices, and all the data transfer between the applications is completely safe, and you are compliant to all the rules which are there. Then productivity gains. So as we know now, the human force which has been put earlier to do that process is now free, and they can invest themselves in more complex tasks, which would ultimately increase the productivity of the organization and the team. So that is also considered while doing the ROI. Improved quality through error reduction. So error-free processing or error-free automation eliminates the costly error, and which eventually leads to poor decision making or false analytics. And then eventually the quality is improved because there are no errors. And if the data is being processed error free, maybe that data is acting as an input to some other process, and that would also run perfectly fine because the data was processed with no error rates. So all these things are considered while analyzing the ROI. And again, I'll be saying the same thing, that it totally depends. You can even mold all these things according to your setup. If you do not consider in this error reduction thing while calculating the ROI, it's fine. It totally depends on the model you've been operating in. If you want to consider in the number of applications involved as a key factor while assessing the complexity, then you can. Okay, talking about the complexity assessment, the major points which play a major role while we assess the complexity, and this is all like core points of the process, like the type of input method, whether the input is structured or unstructured, whether the input is a PDF, which is normal PDF, or if it's a scanned PDF, or if the input method or the input file which you get in is scattered in a lot of the applications and you have to fetch all the input from different applications and then make a bundle out of it, and that acts as an input file. So that plays a role in assessing the complexity. Then percentage of free text, that what amount of text or the data that is involved in the process is free text, like which is unstructured. And type and number of applications involved. So by type we mean that is there any Citrix, VDI or anything like that involved, like virtual environment, and the number of applications involved. That you have two web portal, one Windows application, and then you have an SAP or any ERP tool. So that also plays a role while assessing the complexity, because then you have to automate all those. Your process then even includes web automation. It also includes Windows automation or recording, or if it's Citrix, then Citrix automation. Then number of screens involved. So if your process is simply, moving on to next screen and filling out the thing, and there is no logic thing involved, it's simple plain that you have to just keep on skipping the screens and fill in the certain values or extract certain values. So that also plays a role while assessing the complexity. The deployment effort, that when it's ready, the solution is ready, the effort you put in while deploying it to a server or deploying it to a client machine, that is also counted. And if you, after deploying it, even if you support it, you support, that is, if there is any issue in the production or like that, and if you support it, so that is also then counted in the complexity assessment. Then manual hours monthly, that is, what manual hours does the person who was processing or operating this whole process earlier to automations used to spend on the process monthly. The data side, that is records in row, that is daily or weekly or monthly, it is up to you what figure do you take in. What is the data size, that you will get 100 records to be processed daily, or you'll get 1,000 records to be processed weekly, or the process has to run only weekly, once in a week or once in a month. So that is all counted while assessing the complexity. The business logic, if it's just straightforward, skipping onto each screen and filling in the values or extracting certain values, or to fill a value, you have to first have a business logic placed in, and how complex is this business logic, that for filling in or extracting certain value, what all rules are there, the board has to first identify if it's a simple yes or no, or if a very complex business rule is there, that okay, if A field is this, B field is this, then C, D field is this, and then you have to do this. So the complexity of the logic. The process steps, so that is the number of steps you have in, if it's 50, 60, 70. So you have this, you make out this sheet or you write in all these steps, and then you count in the number of steps your process has, and that is also then counted while assessing the complexity. Standardization effort is that how can you standardize your whole solution. Suppose if multiple applications are involved from where the data is being extracted, and so to standardize, what you can do is, if you can place in all the data at one place, or you standardize that set of process from where a bot is running, and it's, you know extracting all the unstructured data and converting it to a structured data, that is, from the raw data you're creating information. So that is how you standardize the process, and that's what the standardization effort is. If you put in a lot of efforts in, making the unstructured data into structured data, so that effort which you put in doing that is also counted while complexity assessment. So these are some of the major points which you consider while assessing the complexity. There can be more points. The FT, the reliability, as you all have said, that there can be number of points if we just look at it. deals with less exception, highly representative, accuracy, feasibility study. Boring task, no, that's not. But yeah, you can say if it's repetitive task or compatibility application are saved, need of human intervention. So that's what you assess initially, that if a lot of human intervention is involved in the process, then maybe you'll not be able to automate that process fully. You would semi-automate the process. Cost, yes. So that's ROI, that you take that into consideration while selecting the process for RP implementation, that how much it's going to cost you or how much you're going to charge the client. Number of screens, that is, yes, number of screens, number of steps. Degree of stability, yes, that also depends on what do you want, what do you expect out of a solution. So if you want the error rates reduced, you want it highly reliable, or if you want it to be very stable. So coming back to what we were discussing. So yes, these are all the factors which we consider in. Now let's see that how do we calculate this complexity. So here we have 3 sample workflows, like workflow 1, workflow 2, and workflow 3. So these are certain factors which you consider. So the manual hours for workflow 1, it is 21 to 40 hours monthly. For workflow 2, it's 5 to 10 hours monthly. And in workflow 3, the person spends 100 hours manually. The frequency that this particular task is being done daily, and this particular workflow 2 task is also being done daily, and the third one is being done weekly. Then the departments, that is, what all sectors or what all departments does that particular process touch, or the application. Suppose you have 2 applications involved, and they get in data from 2 different departments, and then they process it and get an end result. So that's what department is, that if it's 2 involved, 3 involved, or maybe 10 involved. The number of applications you have. Then Citrix, that is the virtual environment thing, where all that Citrix automation comes in play, where you have this image automation and all. And so it's little difficult while automating the virtual environment or Citrix environment, and it's little less reliable. So that's why if it's a Citrix environment, we usually consider it of high complexity, because you have to play around a lot to do a particular thing, because you do not get the selectors, you have all this image automation and all. The process steps, how many steps are involved. The data size, that is, daily you will be getting 100 records to process, or weekly you'll be getting 500 records to process. Then the business logic, that if it's medium, it's straightforward, yes or no, or if it's very complex. Then the deployment complexity. So there are many a times when you, for a particular process, you develop in 3 process, and those are attached to the same robot and they run in. So accordingly, you decide onto the complexity, because if you have made 3 process, then you'll have to deploy all those 3 process and tag them to a single robot. Then standardization effort, as we've discussed earlier. So if there are a lot of unstructured data, so you try to make it structured so that that can be given as an input, or that can be utilized by the bot for further processing. So if you put in any efforts in that, then you count in that. So if you have a lot of free text, then your standardization effort eventually goes up. If there are no free text, or there are very less number, 10% of free text, then your standardization effort is low or medium, depending on other factors as well. So accordingly, then you given the development efforts, and in this development effort, the deployment effort, the time you taken to deploy and all, it's not counted, and you given the estimated standardization effort. So if I talk about the workflow 1, then you have the 6 weeks of, you can say, the development thing, because the standardization effort can also be counted in the development effort, because it's basically that you'll be structuring all the inputs so that that can be used in processing further. And if we talk about workflow 3, so we see it's a Citrix environment is involved, or a virtual environment is involved, and the data size is also very large. It's 1500 plus, and the process steps are also 300 plus. A lot of applications are involved. So in this case, we try to consult an expert, and accordingly, then we come to a conclusion that, okay, this many weeks would be the development effort, and this many weeks would be the standardization effort. Once we have decided on to the number of week or the timeline or the schedule that okay, we'll be taking 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or 8 weeks to automate a particular process. Accordingly, then we calculate the cost. Okay, so this is just an example of a particular workflow in which we're going to assess at the end and calculate the cost and all. So the number of processes involved in this is 1. Average time of process to process it in minutes is 10 minutes, that it takes 10 minutes to process it. Volume of process is 100, that is 100 records you're going to get daily because the frequency is daily. Now, if the frequency is weekly, that means you're going to get 100 records weekly. So total hours saved in a year is 3813 and cost per hour is $20. So you multiply that, what's the cost and how many total hours you have saved, and you get in your savings due to manual hour reduction. So that's your total saving due to manual hour reduction because now the bot is in play. Talking about improved quality through error reduction. Now, if a particular mistake, if one mistake costs you $50 and you are assuming that in the whole year, every day we'll be getting one mistake. So it's 365 multiplied by 50, you get in your savings due to error reduction because the bot in play, it's less prone to errors. And then at the end, you can calculate additional productivity because of hours saved. Now you must be wondering that how to calculate all of this. How did I get 59% productivity percentage and all of that? So for that, UiPath has this process assessment tool. This you can play around this and accordingly manipulate it according to the process or the thing you following. So it's very good. You can just put in your values. You have this drop down over here. You'll just have to select from it. So if I talk about input types, so how do majority of your data look like? So you'll have to select from here. Then process stability, that in the next 6 months or in the next 8 months, the applications that are involved, how frequently will they change? If it's no change expected, you can just, you have this drop down, you can select it. It's no change expected, very small change, some change, medium change, a significant change. I have just zoomed it out so that you can see all it on one screen. But if you just zoom in, you will be able to see all these options clearly. So it's the process assessment tool or complexity assessment tool the UiPath has given. Okay, so how many FTs are currently needed to perform this process? This is an optional field. If you even do not put it, it will be calculated. Then what is the frequency of the process? You have this drop down, you select and it's daily, it's weekly, it's bi-weekly, or it's monthly, quarterly, or annually. What is the average time it takes for the process to run once? That is 5. What is the average number of human errors? How would you characterize the peak of the process? That is there any particular time or any particular day when you get in a lot of data? That is usually it's 100 records, but on Saturday you get more than 300 records. So if it's any such situation, is there any peak of the process? So you decide from here. So you have this option, rare but predictable event. So the peak could come, though it's rare. The process does not have any peaks, and regular, that every year or every day you will get peak of the process, wherein you will get a lot of records. The volume would be high. How many steps does the process have? How difficult are decisions that you must take to complete the process? That is the business logic. If it's very complex or it's a simple yes, no type. So this is that. And what is the average number of cases which you are unable to complete the entire process? And this is that when you require input from some other applications or likewise. So is there any case involved? And if it's there, then what percentage is there? So this is where in your automation pipeline or that wider perspective of yours comes in picture, that if there is any percentage, suppose now here instead of 5, if we had 50, that out of all the cases, 50% we are unable to process because the input varies on some other thing. So this is where that picture vision comes in picture, that okay, you identify all these things in the starting and you say that when we develop this process and put in, we'll pick up this process whose output depends on this process, and we'll also be automating that. So that's how you build in your automation pipeline, and your bigger vision could help you. And this is that, are any of the applications accessed via VDI, that is if Citrix or virtual environment is being involved? What percentage of your input data is digital, like it's structured? And it's, if it's scanned, that is unstructured, or maybe scanned wherein the OCR and all has to come in picture. And what percentage of your input data is structured, that is 80% is structured and the rest 20% is free text. And then there are formulas already put in, and you can, you change this according to the setup you work in. So it will calculate the ease of implementation, it will calculate the benefit, it will calculate the bandwidth freed, that is man hours per year, because formulas with the FTEs, then the error reduction, percentage of error reduction, average handling time reduction, and efforts to implement. So all this will be calculated. The formulas are already applied on the cells. Coming back to the presentation. Okay. So we saw how to assess the complexity of a single process, or even if you have to assess the complexity of multiple processes, there is this tab in the process assessment tool by UiPath where you can put in the values of multiple processes also and get your complexity calculated. So now this is the after you have automated. So like we talked earlier that there are two main factors, that is before and after. So in after, what we calculate is the tool cost and the maintenance cost. So if the tool platform cost is $18,000 and the annual maintenance and support is 4, and then the consultant services and training, that is if there are ended bots or if you support the process which is in production. So you have to train your employees and you will have to give the consultant services. That is, if any client comes up to you for asking that I want to automate, I want to get this process automated. So you accordingly consult him that why it's possible to automate or why you'll not be able to automate it, what all processes can be automated. So for all that, you put in some cost, and all this add up to the total cost of the solution. That is the after thing. So the before was that before the automation was done, how much was the cost, and this is the after, that is the tool cost and the annual maintenance cost. So these are just numbers, these are not the actual figures, they may vary. And for that, you can get in touch with your UiPath sales team. They'll be the best person to answer that. So these are just numbers. So now if we want to, calculate the ROI at the end of each year or for the next 5 years, so this way it could be done that this tool cost and the tool cost would be the one-time cost that we initially put in. And then for every year, we have this manual hours and all based on which we calculate that the total per period cost is this much. Then the tool platform cost is the one-time cost we put in. We don't have to put in each year. Annual maintenance and support we put in each year, because to maintain the bots in production and to support them, there is some cost associated to it. So we keep putting that each year. And then total per year is the same. So this is what we save it, and this is what we put in. So that's how you calculate the ROI. Coming to the benefits of RPA. Cost saving. So as we know, we have just seen it that initially you put in, but after that, every year you just have to, put in a small amount of cost to maintain it and to support it. And your work would be done also because it's highly accurate, or because there's no human intervention involved. If there is any cost which you were paying because of error rates, so that would be reduced or would no longer be there. The quality and accurate work. So talking about accuracy, we know that it's machine doing the work, software robots doing the work. So it would be very fast, it would be efficient, there will be less number of errors. Automated response and triggers. So suppose you get in a mail the process is based on electronic triggers. You get in a mail and the bot processes it. And at the end of it, you have to automatically send a response to the customer that, okay, your order has been processed or your complaint has been registered. So those are the benefits that the bot would quickly respond back, and the customer would be happy to receive an early response, or he would be satisfied. ROI analysis. So we can, save a lot by implementing RPA, because the salary thing, you will have to keep paying that. But once you automate it, that thing that you will have to initially put in the cost, and then you can, have the return on your investment. And also the work would be done at a much faster rate and efficiently. And the employees which were earlier doing that mundane task, the repetitive task, would now put their self or invest themselves in more productive and complex tasks, or in highly skilled tasks that is not possible by robots. Insights and analytics. So in the analytics and insights could also be done with the help of robots. If the robots are operating the data and they are doing the analytics, then it is more accurate. The information which could not be earlier extracted because of a number of reasons, or if the human has to, extract certain data from millions and billions of records, it is very difficult and even impossible, but the bot could do it easily. And if the insights and analytics are accurate, then obviously you would not be getting any false analytics, and the decision making would be accurate. Improve communication. If we, replace the document updation or creation with the help of RPA tool, as it is better equipped to carry those kind of tasks. Or if you want to,
Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
So about the time, so can you please make it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just quickly wrap it. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for reminding. So to carry out your critical task, or if the updation has to be done in a lot of multiple documents at once, the bot could easily do it. Coming to the time saving, if it's unattended, then all your time is getting saved. If it's attended, then also your time is getting saved, because the bot is still processing it at a faster rate as compared to humans. So these are some of the best practices of RPA. Documentation. The documentation should be very detailed, explaining all the in-scope process, out-scope process, all the business validations and all. Then the planning phase, which we have earlier discussed, the preparation phase, that's the main phase, and it should be, considered as a critical phase, and be done with utmost care, that you analyze all the applications and then accordingly you plan out. The modularity, it should be, broken into modules so that it's easier to debug, it's easier to apprehend. Choose activities carefully, that for a particular task there are a number of activities, but you'll have to accordingly see your process and choose the best activity that fits in. Increase workflow readability, so that if someone sees your workflow, or even if you see your workflow for changing anything, or you're making your bot to, come up with a change if there's any change in the application, so you could easily do it. You should avoid hard coding. Testing unit and integration, all single components should be checked. That modularity now helps in doing that unit testing, and then the whole sub component should be tested at one single unit, that is the integration testing. Store reusable component, that is use of custom activities, wherein if you get a similar process, you can just reuse the component, and the work is done at a less time. Add logging into the workflow. That's important. When you track in the errors or the exceptions, the logging would really help you. Error handling, because that would eventually help you in reducing the error rates if you've done the error handling really well. So now in Studio, we have got this workflow analyzer, which will take care of some of the best practices of RPA. So if you just add in your rules, the workflow analyzer will take care that you're following those rules or not. So like hard coding and all, store logging into the workflow, error handling. So all that can be taken care by the workflow analyzer. So that's all for this session from my side. So we'll just spare 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can put in the chat window.
Thanks, Anmol, for such a great session. So I see one of the question where people are asking for the this process assessment tool. So what I will do, I will post the link to download this, this under the event. However, my suggestion would be that you can start using Automation Hub, in which there is an inbuilt ROI calculator, and which are based on the process and program level.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Vibha. And guys, if you are able, anybody having question, please post, or else we'll take a picture if anybody is available on the video with the permission of
Yeah,
Vibha.
no, sure. And few more things. I'm just sharing few links that I have shared the link for the developer conference. So it's going to be really interesting one, which is happening on 2nd and 3rd. So in case you have not registered yet, please register. To stay updated on upcoming meetups, please visit communityevents.uipath.com. We are going to have some interesting session on testing also, where we will cover software testing and test automation fundamentals, whatever software testing life cycle, how this works and everything. And recording will be available here. And in case you have any other query, we can always connect. Balaji, everything is well. You are still using mask at home. You don't want to show your face,
Seeing
or
some of the new faces.
okay, it's good now.
Yeah. So hi, Danny. I'm seeing some of the new faces here. So hi, Danny. Hi, Abhilash. Hi, Sai Shashank. Balaji. Hi, Sambata. Hi, Divya. Hi, Saidin.
So there are some of the guys who were in the previous call as well. So they spent all their time in the learning today. I see Pradeep and Shubham. Though we are running out of time, but still, if you guys want to share.
From your side, I'm not able to read.
Sorry, Niklesh, you are saying something?
Yeah, I'm saying I'm not able to click the picture from my end. Can you take it?
Oh, I'll take it from my end.
Yeah. A lot of people on the camera angles.
Yeah, I'm taking it now. Look at the camera, I'm taking it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anyone wants to share what are the key challenges you guys face as a business analyst? I know we are running out of time, and anyone wants to leave, yeah, take your time out. Yeah, I just thought I will ask, what are some of the main challenges you guys face? Probably we can cover that maybe in the next session.
Yes,
Anyone?
guys, if you want to have any session or anything interesting topic, if you let us know for Weber and all, so he can arrange the session for that.
Yeah, you can reach out to Sharath or Niklesh or me, anyone.
Yeah, you can unmute Raman Kumar. You can unmute and talk, no issue.
Yeah, you can unmute now.
Hi guys, we were just add on to your automation hub. Recently, I gone through that and it's very awesome. Guys, I suggest to go through automation hub. Just create a trial account and use it so that you can learn and the process assessment, complexity calculator, ROI. You just give it a try and you can submit your idea and you can see what are key inputs, what are there to calculate. And you can define your own questions according to your use case also. I just suggest to visit Automation Hub once and create a trial account, and trial account is there for 60 days. Then use it and then better you will get more idea. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pradeep. And you really don't need any technical knowledge to use Automation Hub. It's very easy to start with.
Yeah. If anyone need any help or support, like just let me know. I am also ready to jump in.
Hi Pradeep, can you
Sorry,
hear me?
Om. To answer your question,
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
go ahead.
Pradeep, I have a question actually. I'm a UiPath beginner. When I try to extract the data from